Well, hello everybody. This is Scott, and I'm up here in Rabun County in the War Woman area. That's actually Sandy Ford Road right up there that I'm parked off the side of. As you can see, there's a little path here that I'm following, and this path will lead you to the old abandoned Dix Creek Railroad Tunnel. Now, they have been doing some work in here, doing some archaeological digs and whatnot, and there's actually a path now. This is one of those things up here in Rabun County that very, very few people knew the location to. I mean, because there was no really trail to it. You had to come up here. You just had to know where it was at, and you had to work your way down through the woods there until you found the old railroad cut, and then follow the old railroad cut to that tunnel, which was not an easy task because it was sort of like bushwhacking through a dense jungle with the rhododendron and all that kind of stuff. It wasn't an easy feat to accomplish. But now, the Forest Service has been in here doing archaeological digs and some stuff to do with the old never completed Blue Ridge Railroad, that was abandoned in the 1850s at the outbreak of the Civil War, and then the construction on it never started back up after the war. So all this stuff, they had like 80% of the cut and the grade and all that kind of things completed at the time of abandonment. So you can still get out here in the woods and hike around and find some of these old, long abandoned relics. And like I said, they found the location of one of the blacksmith shops that was outside of the tunnel. So they came up here and did an archaeological dig just to see what all they could find, and they actually made a path in here now that you can follow to get to the tunnel quite easily compared to how you used to have to get to it. But that's what I'm doing today. I'm gonna hike up here to the old abandoned tunnel and check it out. I was here a couple of months ago. I came up here and followed this path up as they were still doing the archaeological dig, and as I said, it's much easier now to get up here than what it used to be. So let's hike up here and see what all we can see along the way. Now, it is my understanding that the Forest Service plans on building an interactive trail up here to the tunnel over the next 2 years. So it's looking like this lesser known tunnel and sort of a secret spot is not going to be very lesser known and secret much longer, because like I said, they're supposedly going to build an interactive trail. To my understanding, sort of like the War Woman Dale Nature Trail, with all the little signs and stuff along the way to sort of explain some of the history. So it looks like this may become a better known location here in the near future. We got a little creek crossing here to get across. like I said, you had to walk around in the woods and find that old railroad cut, and then follow it. And I mean, it was just like walking through that wall of rhododendron there. I mean, it was not easy. And unless you just knew it was here, you didn't know anything about it anyway. So this was kind of an unknown thing, only known by a handful of people, and mostly locals at that. Now, as you're working your way up the trail here, right here, you can see the actual grade of the railroad. It went right through there. As you can see, this bank over on this side and the bank over on this side, right straight down through there. That pine tree right there is dead center of the old railroad cut, and that is what you used to have to follow up in here before this path was made, and working your way through all that rhododendron, getting cut and scratched up. But the old cut came right up through here, and then straight across here on this side. You can see it same way that way. But that is the actual Blue Ridge Railroad cut from the 1850s. And now the trail's going to lead us over here and drop down into the actual cut. As you look back that way, looking at it, and the cut continues right on up through there. But the trail's going to take you up here, back up above it again. Now the trail follows this old road here for just a little ways, and then it turns off. I'm not sure what the old road through here was. I don't know if this was like a early supply road or something back in the day, but the trail's gonna lead you back down into this creek area, stream area. You can see how big the rhododendron is in here. But cross over this little stream, and you're going to pop up here to one of the archaeological sites where they were working. And I'm not sure what this site was. This is not the blacksmith shop. This was something else. Where they were doing some digging, but on over here, it's a lot more grown up now than it was when I was here a couple months ago with the leaves and all. But you can see all these rocks piled up, and this is all rocks that came out of the tunnel where they brought them out and piled them up. And this is actually that area right in front of me. You're actually looking down old railroad cut. And again, as I've stressed before, you can see how grown up that is and how tough it would have been to make your way up in here before they blazed this path. But over here you can see these large mounds of stones, and this is all stones out of that tunnel. And you gotta think, this was in the 1850s. They started construction on this in 1852. And like I said, all work was abandoned at the outbreak of the Civil War. The only way they had to do all this work was by hand and mule power, and they used oxen and black powder. They didn't even have dynamite. It wasn't invented yet, so they were having to do all the blasting with black powder. And this was a massive undertaking for this time frame in history. If we get over here and look at more of the stones, big pile of them there. I've seen lots of documentation about this railroad, and one of the main things it says is no cost was going to be spared on this railroad. It was going to connect, if they would have completed it, it would have connected Charleston, South Carolina to Knoxville, Tennessee. And no cost was going to be spared. They didn't want any wooden trestles. It said no rickety wooden trestles on the Blue Ridge. If it was, any bridges were going to be cut stone. Culverts, which you can still see to this day. You can still find them, and they still function to this day. Cut stone culverts that were cut and fit so tightly together that they didn't even use mortar. Stone bridge piers, same way, just stacked, huge pieces of stacked stone that was cut and fit very tightly together with no mortar. Like I said before, no wooden trestles. It was all going to be stone, and if they didn't build a bridge, then the area was going to be filled. It was going to be filled in with dirt. So you would have had these vast expanses, voids that were just filled in areas. And this in this day and time, this was a massive undertaking, and a very, very expensive undertaking to build a railroad like that. And another thing about the tunnels was any hill or mountain that was over 60 feet tall required a tunnel. So, and like I said before, the Stump House Mountain Tunnel over in Oconee County, South Carolina is the same railroad. I mean, it's the same railroad that came up, crossed over the Chattooga River and ran on into Raven County and Clayton, and then continued north. rocks along the trail. Lots of them. That whole area through there is just covered in these rocks that came out of the tunnel. And now here the trail is going to dump us out to the archaeological dig site of the blacksmith shop. This is where the blacksmith shop was. Now these big construction projects like this, they had blacksmith shops all along the way that were thrown up. Because like I said before, you only had hand tools, you know, shovels and picks. And they had these blacksmith shops all along the way to build and repair the tools. If they had something break, you know, they could fix it right here. They could make it right here. They could hammer it out. A pick, shovel, or whatever. They could make it. And this is the side of one of those blacksmith shops. I don't know what they found here. I know the Rayburn County Historical Society is supposed to post at some point in time what they actually found here, and I'm interested to hear about it. You know, it's I'm a history buff, so you know all this kind of stuff piques my interest, and I'm really looking forward to see what they found here at this site. And I'm also a blacksmith on the side. I mean, I had a blacksmith shop for a few years, and I do it, you know, I do it the old way with coal and you know, all hand tools, just a hammer and an anvil. So that's something else that interests me. But like I said, that is the site of one of the old blacksmith shops along the railroad. But now the trail brings you on over here. As you can see, more rocks and stones. But follow the trail on over here to the tunnel. I'm going to put the camera away until I work my way off down. What I'm going to do is actually work my way over this hump and drop down into the actual cut that is down below the entrance to the tunnel. Now I have dropped off down into the actual cut. This is where the actual trails would have ran if this railroad would have ever been completed. And as you can see, there is a little stream of water that runs down the middle of it, but this is standing in the middle of the abandoned cut. And I'm only a couple hundred yards below the entrance to the tunnel at this point. I zoom up, it is just right up there. But as you can see, this is where the path gets a little bit harder, because this cut is filled in with lots of fallen trees, downfall. So this short section here, like I said, it's only a couple hundred yards, is going to be what the entire hike used to be like before they made that path that I just got off of. But I'm going to put the camera away and start fighting my way through all this to get up there to that tunnel. Alright, now I'm a little bit further up this way, making my way toward the tunnel. Now like I said, this is what you've got to make your way across now. The easy part is over with. This is a little harder. And this water, like I said, this is where the rails would have ran if this railroad would have been completed. And this water wouldn't have been coming down through here. They said that they made a dam back in the day that diverted this water, but over the years it has, slowly eroded away, I'm sure, and now the water actually spills over the front of the entrance to the tunnel and has made its way right down the railroad cut. So we have this good stream flowing now. But I'm going to put my camera away where I can get across this here and hopefully not fall in it. As you can see, we got some widowmakers hanging up there. But see if I can work my way on up through here. And here you might be able to see the tunnel straight ahead. But this is where the cut really starts to get deep. Here on each side. These beautiful moss colored walls of the cut here. Very cool here. It's a hot day today. It's supposed to be up summertime temps today. But you can feel this good cool air here. It feels absolutely wonderful. As you can see, the mountain laurel blooms are falling off. This is an absolutely beautiful area here at the mouth of this tunnel. Over here on the side of the rocks, you can see the old drill marks where they used the hammer drills when they were blasting this away. So much greenery. Those vines up there, look at those vines just intertwined. It's cool. This gets really muddy up around in here. The friends right there. Here's the tunnel. Still got some mountain laurel blooms right there above it. But there it is. Now this side of the tunnel goes in 60 feet. That's as far as they made it. I think I said that in my other video that I wasn't sure if it was 30 or 60, but it's 60. It goes back up in there 60 feet. The other side, on the other side of Wall Mountain, that's on private property that you don't have access to, goes back 1,400 feet. But as I said in my previous video, It's being used to study white nose syndrome in bats, and it's off limit to the public. But there you can see more of those hand drill marks where they beat those hand drills in with sledgehammers back in the day, blowing this stone loose. And all that stone we saw on the way in here came from here and out of the actual tunnel. As you can see, there's a deep pool of water here in front of it. This is a beautiful area here right at the mouth of this tunnel, with all this green and very amazing. As we look back down the cut. As I said, the Forest Service is supposed to build an interactive trail up here to this over the next 2 years, so looks like it's going to become a much more popular place, which in a way is good, in a way it's not, but you know, it is a piece of history that more people should know about, and it should be protected. Because until recently, there was very, very, very few people even knew this existed, and even less knew how to get to it. I knew it was here, but it took me years of research to figure out where it actually was and how to actually get to it. Like I stated in my previous video about this, years of researching historical maps to try to find the proposed route, because since this railroad was never completed, any map you find is the proposed route, so it was subject to change as they were building it. But hopefully in the future, people who want to come visit this won't have the hard work as I did trying to figure out where it's at. But anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I thank you for coming along with me. Hopefully if people in the area, they can make their way up here to visit this neat place. But I hope you are all having a wonderful day, and I look forward to seeing you on my next adventure. Thanks for watching.